Hello friends, and welcome to the Film Fables channel. This is a retelling of the movie Lady Macbeth. 19th century England, a church is holding a festive service celebrating the marriage of a high-ranking man, Alexander Leicester. His chosen one is a young girl, Catherine, who looks back at those present with apprehension. The same evening in the house of her husband, the maid Anna is assigned to the girl. She prepares the young mistress for the first wedding night. But the husband, entering the room, first starts a conversation. He informs her that it is too cold in their land, so it is better for the girl not to leave the mansion. After that, he tells Catherine to take off her nightgown, and when she appears before him in the nude, he extinguishes the lamp and goes to bed. From that moment, the girl's life in the house of her husband becomes like a prison. She is awakened at the same time, forced to wait for men just sitting in the living room. She is not allowed to go outside and is demanded to obey them completely. Once at dinner, tired of listening to business talk, Catherine asks permission to leave the dining room. Without showing his face in front of the guests, the girl's father-in-law, Boris, comes to her and expresses his displeasure. He tells Catherine not to allow such liberties and to sit at the table until her husband decides to go to his own place. After these words, Boris instructs the maid Anna to make sure that Mrs. Leicester does not fall asleep before her husband arrives. Alexander arrives in the bedroom in a drunken state. He kicks out the servants, orders Catherine to take off her shirt and turn her back to the wall. A man satisfies himself by looking at her naked body. Humiliated and insulted girl steadfastly endures this attitude to herself. In the morning, having breakfast in the company of her father-in-law, the girl learns that Alexander has left on business for a very long period of time. Boris himself is going to London, saying that being left alone, Catherine will be able to properly think over her behavior and begin to perform marital duties. Making sure that neither father-in-law nor her husband is not at home, the girl first of all goes for a walk because she has not been outdoors for a long time. A few days later, resting in the living room, Catherine hears a noise from the backyard and immediately goes there. Seeing the workers weighing her naked maid like cattle, she gives orders for the bullying to stop immediately. Among the men, for some reason she fixes her attention on Sebastian and challenges him. The young mistress offers the daredevil to weigh her, believing that she will put the guy in a deadlock. But he, not for a moment confused, immediately lifts her up in his arms. Pushing away the insolent, Catherine gives orders to everyone to return to work, and herself hurries to her room to comfort Anna. From that moment, the girl goes for daily walks, where she periodically meets Sebastian. One evening, the guy penetrates into her room, unable to cope with the influx of passion. The young people spend the night in bed. Anna and other workers begin to suspect about the connection between the guy and the mistress, but they prefer to keep silent about it. After a while, Boris returns to the estate. Learning about this, Catherine gets drunk before dinner to calm her nerves. Sitting with her father-in-law at the table, the girl listens to his words about how badly she conducted the household during the absence of men. After he asks the servant to bring a bottle of his favorite wine, and when he learns that it has run out, he suspects the woman of stealing. Boris cruelly and callously humiliates Anna, forcing her to crawl on all fours like an animal. She steadfastly endures the jeers, not wanting to give away the young mistress. The next morning, the man comes to the workers and severely beats Sebastian. After that, he locks him up. When Catherine learns of this, she tries to argue with her father-in-law, but he slaps her, saying that she is good for nothing. Boris informs her that the laborer will be locked up until he decides how to punish him. In the morning, the man reprimands his sister-in-law again, and afterward goes to his room, not wanting to eat breakfast in her presence. The girl props up the door with a chair and sits quietly at the table, inviting Anna to join her. At first, from the next room there are knocks, and then they gradually begin to fade. Realizing that her father-in-law has lost consciousness, Catherine sends the servants to fetch a doctor, and in the meantime frees Sebastian. The doctor arrives and pronounces Boris dead. Alexander is notified of this sad event, and he sends a letter saying that he will not come to his father's funeral. Catherine, realizing that her husband does not need her and most likely he will not return, brings Sebastian to the house as a new host. After the death of Boris, Anna lost her voice from the shock she experienced. The girl considers herself guilty. After all, it is likely that the master died from poisoning by mushrooms, which she collects every morning. The cook tries to suggest to the girl that the old man was already sick and weak, but she continues to blame herself. One night, Catherine wakes up from the noise outside the window. Seeing that it is Alexander who has returned, she wakes Sebastian and hides him in the closet. Entering the bedroom, the husband finds a man's belt on the floor and immediately charges his spouse with adultery. In response, the girl defiantly lets her lover out of hiding, pushes him onto the bed and sits on top, pulling up her shirt. Not tolerating such insolence, Alexander pounces on Sebastian and a fight breaks out between the men. Wanting to help her lover, Catherine takes a poker and gives her husband several blows to the head. To cover up the evidence of the crime, the couple drags the man's body into the woods and kills his horse next to it to fake an attack. Back home, the young man is tormented by remorse. He cannot forget what they have done together. Catherine tells her lover that it's all for the sake of their happiness. After all, now no one will not interfere with them, and they can be together. From that day on, the young people enjoy each other, but only until a woman named Agnes comes to the house. She tells her that Alexander was close to her daughter and became the father of her child. After the girl died, he made the boy his ward. Moreover, the man had recently lived with them until he decided to visit his spouse. However, now that he is reported missing, they have come to claim their rights to the property because they have documents signed personally by Alexander. Teddy, upon seeing Catherine, says that she is the most beautiful woman he has ever seen. The boy looks at the girl with adoration and follows her everywhere with his tail. Realizing that in this situation, it is impossible to provoke scandals, Sebastian hastily leaves the estate. He rejects all attempts of Catherine to meet with him, motivated by the fact that he fears the disclosure of their connection. Some time later, the girl realizes that she is pregnant. Hurrying to share this news with her lover, she waves away Teddy, who met on her way. This greatly upsets the boy, and he runs away from home. All the servants and workers go in search of the child, while a grief-stricken Agnes waits for him at home. Sebastian spots Teddy near the waterfall. The man struggles with himself. If he kills the boy, he and Catherine will be able to live as before. But still, human feelings outweigh, and he brings the child back home. The young man unknowingly starts giving orders to the servants, which infuriates Agnes, and she throws the worker out. Realizing that the woman is right, he begins to hastily pack his things to leave the estate. Catherine hurries after him and dissuades her lover from doing so. Afterwards, she goes to Agnes and persuades her to take a nap after a sleepless night. When she leaves the room, the girl lets Sebastian in, and together they kill Teddy by strangling him in his sleep. The next day, Catherine tells her version of events to the doctor, who saw bruises on the boy's body. She fell asleep for a few minutes, and when she woke up, the boy was already dead. When the investigator arrives, the girl repeats this version, but Sebastian suddenly bursts into the room and confesses to all the murders. Disappointed in the man, Catherine accuses him of lying. Moreover, she assures that he and her maid Anna deliberately got rid of her relatives. After all, Boris was poisoned by those mushrooms that the girl collected, and Sebastian was beaten by Alexander the day before. The girl emphasizes that she loved Teddy very much and spent a lot of time with him. A grief-stricken Agnes confirms Catherine's words. Anna, aware of her mistress's pregnancy, also does not deny her guilt. The investigator takes the maid and Sebastian away to be put on trial, and Catherine is left alone in the manor. Now no one will not prevent her from enjoying life. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching. Do not forget to put a like and subscribe to the channel. Here you are waiting for a lot of interesting and exciting. See you in the next videos.